actually
people
gets
over the
capped
past
out.
10
It
years.
does get,
Yeah.
I'm the
so you
credit
could
expert
reach
for
age
Fox
92,
Business
and
News
then they say,
and
hey,
all the
look,
major networks.
On the
I'm a
10-year
certified FICO
Uh-huh.
Pro
Yeah.
that
That can
uses
happen.
the consumer
Okay, so I'm
laws
gonna ask
So,
that,
but,
and then I'll
but
let
it's
you
actually
answer.
capped out. It's not
off
really
of credit
92.
reports.
You have to
We
look
have a
at
debt
it.
elimination program
20 seconds.
that focuses on the laws
Yeah.
surrounding
Was there a legal,
collections, judgments, and charge-offs.
topic
You could
you
be
wanted to
entitled to up to
tackle?
$1,000
We're gonna
per
flow?
violation. Call now
We're-
for your
and we're
free
flowing.
credit consultation.
Another question, what happens to the house after the senior passes?
533-8138.
You wanna
That
talk about
number
that
again,
as
Yeah.
well?
888-533-8138, or visit us on the web at betterqualified.com.
For more real estate talk, download our free podcast at retalkradio.com. Now back to Vic.
Welcome back to Real Estate Talk, and at the risk of sounding redundant, I will remind everyone about our podcast on retalkradio.com, and we're going to pick it up right where we left off in terms of reverse mortgages with our guest, Don Giorgio of United Northern Mortgage. Why is that a mouthful? United Northern Mortgage. Come on.
Bankers.
All by myself. Regarding some of the myths that surround reverse mortgages. I had one when we were on the break, which is, supposing somebody lives a really long time.
We hope they all live a long time.
Well,
Yeah.
we hope we do. It's a good problem, but
The government doesn't hope we live long, but yeah.
Right. So they live a lot longer than anybody expected. They just keep getting payments, forever. Or
The way that the loan's calculated out, you have that whole cap, not to get too technical, but the program is planned out for people to live to be 102 years old.
Wow.
And that's when it actually kind of reaches its limit. So that's the way we plan out the interest and the principal, that they get to that point of 102.
Okay.
We don't know if we're going to live that long. Only if I look good, then I want to live that long.
Okay.
But that's really where it goes to. So they can have their monthly payments, they can have their lump sum, they can do their line of credit. The line of credit, interesting too. If they take a line of credit out,
Okay.
the line of credit, the size of the line of credit still grows. So if they took a line of credit of $100,000, then, for example, next year that line of credit might be $104,000. So it grows with the value of the house. So they always have a little bit more return for their mortgage product.
Because there is a rumor
Rumor has it, yeah.
that real estate appreciates.
I heard that very rumor, and I want to touch on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Only in
So-
New York.
Only in New York. So right now we want it to appreciate. What we don't understand is that this product, everyone, even if they don't need the money, should have a reverse mortgage and use it as almost like an insurance policy. That real estate historically does appreciate. Right now in this particular area, New York, where we're averaging somewhere between 4 to 7% appreciation a year. So if you're making an investment, there's no better investment you could ever make, even over the stock market, is your home, where you live. And let a mortgage product like a reverse mortgage grow with your home. So the line of credit does grow as well.
Well, as Will Rogers said, buy land. God's not making any more of it.
Right.
I'm not the only one that heard that. Okay. All right. So the appreciation curve will help with an equity line.
Yeah.
Is the bottom line there. The people that are 103 and over are the ones that might have a little problem, but we're talking about
They might have a problem. And we've done people that were 99 years old. And unfortunately, we did somebody that was 100 and they passed away right after the mortgage was done. But they got their reverse mortgage and they knew that they reached it.
And they had some security and
Yeah.
they reaped the benefits of that.
What happens, if I may, what happens if obviously a prerequisite is for you to continue to pay your real estate taxes, your
Taxes,
insurance,
homeowners insurance,
right?
yeah.
And your upkeeping of your house, so you won't deteriorate. So what happens if the elder person has issues with making those particular payments? What does he or she do?
If they're having trouble making their payments, they could always go back to their line of credit and try and pull more to make the payments, so the money is there. And they always obviously have the ability to sell their house. It's theirs. Just because they took a reverse mortgage doesn't use up all the equity, 1, 2, 3. They could still sell the house and still take that money out, even if the taxes and insurance are too much for them.
Right.
But they can pull their line of credit and make those additional payments through line of credit. So it's always there. Now, in some cases, if people have had let's say, credit problems, because we all have rain in our life and credit does fail, and people always make their obligations. It doesn't eliminate them from the possibility of getting a mortgage. What it would mean is that there would be a set-aside of whatever that principal amount was, so that their property taxes and insurance would be paid out of the program. So they would get that money deducted from whatever they might have gotten out of the reverse mortgage. And the servicer would therefore make their payments for them.
How often have you heard, because I haven't researched this, but how often are such mortgages being foreclosed on?
It doesn't happen that often. You know, no one wants to kick out grandma and grandpa to the street.
Right.
So many banks are hesitant to do that. You know, so there's always a workout that if something happens, they leave the property because we said they've got to occupy it.
Yes.
The servicer will give them the opportunity to sell it. They'll get a 6-month window. If they need more than 6 months, so that it doesn't have to be foreclosed upon. They get the opportunity to still sell it with the assistance of the servicer.
And we're talking about an extremely rare
Yeah.
circumstance.
No, this is about lifestyle, about allowing people to move on in life, either stay in their home or get something that's better and bigger.
Or if
For them.
if you have to relocate to an assisted living, for example.
Yeah.
Due to whatever reasons.
So
Then-
here's a cool part about that,
Yeah.
though. So talking about assisted living, the government wants us to age in place. We all hear about the talk about Medicaid and Medicare. The program is going to collapse somewhere, some way. So there's just not enough money coming in as the baby boomers age in and start to pull out Social Security benefits and Medicaid. Not enough people are paying in. The government wants them to age in place. So if they're aging in place and they stay in their home, they could actually hire aides to come to them and stay there, not have to necessarily go into assisted living. So they could stay a little bit more comfortable in their house where they're familiar with their family visiting them and not have to go necessarily into assisted living.
I see. So what you're saying is the person is going to pull out more to be able
Yeah.
to afford the assistance.
Yeah, their health care, sure.
Right, the health care. That the person will pull out more of the line of credit to be
Right.
able to pay
Yeah, to pay for the aid that comes in.
for the aid for the
Right.
person to come to assist him or her in time of need.
Right.
I think that this product, the whole reverse mortgage, if you are qualified, is not used to its capacity. It's such a wonderful product.
There's a lot of, as Jackie was saying, misconceptions
Right.
that affect the ability for a senior to even think about doing it. So if you have the marketplace being 22% is 62 and older, buying a home, right? And most of them don't believe, the ones that didn't buy a house, that they can get a mortgage. They could still get a mortgage to get into,
I've heard that.
where they have a community for seniors 55 and over.
Yeah.
It's the perfect opportunity for them to go into that kind of place using their existing equity to actually be able to afford something that they didn't think they can get because they can have a reverse mortgage.
Jackie, you've heard that. You've heard, I'm certain, a senior say to you, I didn't know I could get a mortgage because I don't
Absolutely.
expect I'm going to live another 30 years.
Right.
I've heard it more, and again, there's no age discrimination, right? So if you're 70 or 80, you absolutely can go for a mortgage. And
Yeah.
what I actually just recently learned, John, we were chatting about this, that, the reverse mortgage product for purchases is a heck for purchase. So you don't have to just use this on your current property or your existing property. It can be used to purchase a property as well. So there's just, the conversation is continual. It can be endless.
Does it have to be like a second home or the next primary residence? Can they give it to their kids?
The next primary residence, it has to be.
Okay.
They've got to live in it. It's got to be where they occupy it. That doesn't mean they cannot have a second home.
So I've learned from a client in Europe that in Europe they don't have the discrimination laws protections that we do in the U.S. And in Europe, if you are over a certain age, because of a 30-year loan, they won't give it to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So the person came to the U.S. He was just so amazed of the fact that in the U.S. we do not forego giving a loan based on the person's age. And he
Right.
says, "Wow, but I'm not going to make it 30 years from now. What's going to happen to my loan? How come the bank is okay with giving me the loan, a 30-year mortgage?" And I told him, "No, the bank is expecting you to pay it back beforehand." But in Europe, that's not the case. So they don't have the.
I've heard that, and isn't that great about America that we take
That's-
care of people?
that's-
That's the message.
And
yes.
it's exciting to know that seniors have the opportunity to get a mortgage, even for a purchase. We have, in the near future, there's going to be about 70 million people that are over 65 years old, not too far up in the future. We're worried about 11 million undocumented aliens. We should be worrying about 70 million people that are going to be 65 and older. Our politicians are really missing the boat on what should be addressed for a future crisis.
Well, as you pointed out, the typical politician is the only demographic older than the typical realtor.
How old is our president? I think we're not supposed to tell him.
So
He's
this is their worldview, though, of
Yeah.
those in leadership, and I'm not 100% sure if it gets more votes to address and tackle the issues facing an aging population. But the fact of the matter is, we have an aging population, and that we need kind of a partnership between government and industry to work on those markets and to work on those issues.
Right.
Don, if I may, can you explain to us and clarify to us the need of having the borrower being the sole owner of the house or the apartment? In other words, grandma, grandpa, and the kids cannot be the owners of the house, right? It's supposed to be solely owned by the borrower,
You can have a non-borrowing spouse.
right, and the
Okay.
spouse.
So the spouse can be actually under 62 and still be able to have a mortgage done for the senior. You can still have other people on title to the property. There's a lot of mechanisms and legal ways to do it for people where there's others on title.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that as well. So, someone wants to do a reverse mortgage and they have children, their children are concerned. What happens after the senior passes to that property if title isn't drawn correctly? If you're not in deed properly.
This also goes back to aging population and assisting seniors with knowing what their options are. What can they do? What should they do? Getting good advice from a financial advisor, from an elder law attorney, who will protect them to make sure that their kids are dealt with properly. That when a senior passes, and it's unfortunate, but listen, we're all temporary here, so sooner or later we're going, that when that happens, that senior planned out for the kids to get the house, if that's what they want. Or the senior planned out for the kids to get the money that the house generates from being sold. So they're protected, provided they plan properly.
Without prefacing it with God forbid, because we all go, as Vince Scully said, we're all day to day when he was doing the injury report for players. Let's suppose someone does pass and the house has a reverse mortgage on it. They can't make payments. How long typically do they have to, the estate rather, to sell the property?
The estate has up to 6 months to sell the house.
Okay.
And if they don't sell it within that 6 month time frame, they just ask for an extension.
Okay.
Nobody wants to foreclose. No one really, despite what everybody believes, wants to take the property back and own it. They want to give that family every opportunity to sell the home.
Right, and there's no one to foreclose on. I mean, they've moved on to greener pastures.
I hope they're
We hope.
green. Yeah.
we hope.
I don't think they're brown.
We hope. Well, that's if you go to the other place, right?
Right.
A couple other questions. So,
Sure.
We often get this question, I would say, by consumers, and it's a question consumers are trained to ask. What's the prevailing rate? What kind of interest rate are we looking at here?
It depends upon the product they choose. So if it's a line of credit, it's going to be attached to what's called LIBOR. If it's fixed rate, it's going to depend upon the marketplace. Prevailing rate is always right around where the market is on the forward mortgages. Maybe on the fixed rate it might be slightly higher. When it comes down to it, I'm going to say to a senior or any of our loan advisors are going to say, what is your lifestyle? What do you want to do with the product? The rate is important, obviously, but what do you want to accomplish with what you're doing?
Okay.
That's the bigger question for the senior.
Is there a range? I mean, is it along the lines of, a purchase money mortgage for somebody putting, say, 20% down and has a 700 credit score?
Yeah, it might be along those ranges. We don't really worry about credit scores on the reverse side, believe it or not.
That's an equity matter, right?
Yeah, it's more of an equity matter. It's more of an affordability matter. It's a financial assessment matter.
Okay.
So the rate's going to be very close to what a forward mortgage rate might be on a fixed rate loan. Maybe a little bit higher. There are closing costs associated with a reverse mortgage. Again, it's not free. Nothing's free.
Nothing.
Not even death. Death costs money too.
So you think that now it's a good time to take advantage because the interest rates are relatively lower than they used to be?
Yeah, and I wanted to ask, what do you believe? Where do you believe rates are at the moment? What would be a safe range
On a
reverse?
reverse, okay.
Mhm.
On a reverse, they're going to be somewhere around 3.5% to 5%, depending upon the product that they choose.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I can't really pin it down because it really depends upon the senior's need. Do they want that line of credit? Do they need a fixed rate loan for the lump sum aspect of it? But it's the vehicle to be able to stay in your home is worth the price you pay.
Okay, and so fixed rate would be higher than a variable rate.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Can you still do, I'm sorry for asking, can you
Sure.
still do a 7-year arm or a 10-year arm? Like,
No, on a reverse mortgage, it's going to be a monthly adjustable or an annual adjustable
always.
or a fixed rate. Those are the choices. That's why the government did something pretty much in a very tight lane to work in.
And if the elder pays back, hypothetically, right, the elder wins the lottery or gets a gift for $100,000,
Yeah.
and he or she decides to pay back from the principal $100,000. Okay, will the loan be recalculated, and the interest rate would be less based on the principal now due?
Yeah, the interest is going to be reduced. They don't have as much principal outstanding.
Right.
So they could do two choices, though. They could either pay back that accrued interest, or they could reduce the principal. It's their choice. That's why I said earlier, it's a have-it-your-way loan. No other mortgage like that exists. In the forward world, most people in the forward world should want to become 62 and older to get advantage of what this product is for seniors.
Right.
You know, we actually did something right with the government with this
And-
product.
And there is no prepayment penalty,
I was
right?
just going to ask
No.
that same question.
Oh,
I just
sorry.
wrote it down. That's okay. I
No.
was curious about it. As, you know, as we're having
Yeah.
the conversation, because in the forward world, people ask me
Right.
that question all the time.
Yeah.
You know, what if I do hit the lottery? Can I go ahead and make that extra payment? So yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks
if
for
you do
answering
hit the
that.
lottery, even if you don't hit the lottery, which
I'll
most
tell
of
you
us
how to write my
won't,
name.
we could just prepay it.
Write the check too.
If you hit the lottery, remember me first.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always there. So they can make the prepayment. They don't have to make the payment. It goes back to have it your way. There's no restriction on how the senior manages their money and this particular product.
That's good to know. Okay, we are coming up on our own break here. I would remind everybody that we are live on Facebook at facebook.com/Victoria Riva. We are on WOR AM 710 Sunday morning at 5, and you can go to retalkradio.com for podcasts and blogs. We will be back shortly.
The nation's credit repairman,
So
and I want
I
to
saw
help
the
you
2 minutes
improve
to
your
go,
credit.
and I made that the
As the
break.
CEO of Better
So we're going
Qualified,
to have an extra
I've
2
helped
minutes.
thousands of people over the past 10 years.
My first.
I'm the credit expert
so
for
let's
Fox Business
come
News
up
You
with
guys are
some
and
other,
all the major networks.
some other
I'm a
questions then.
certified FICO
So the
Pro
senior, you
that
talk about
uses the
qualifying,
consumer laws
they have to
to help
have
delete negative
an
information
ability to repay
off of credit reports.
to pay the taxes.
We have a debt
and
elimination
the
program
insurance.
that
And they
focuses on
have
the
to be
laws
able to show
surrounding
they've been
collections,
responsible
judgments,
with
and
their
charge-offs.
Questions
Where
asked.
You
before
could be
it was just
entitled up to
everything
$1,000
you get a mortgage
per violation.
Now they've got to
Yeah.
show they're
Yeah.
responsible to their credit. And if they're
Eight
not,
eight
that's
eight
when that
I think we should be ready to
533
get that.
8138.
That's
That
where
number
this,
again,
What should I ask my
888
servicer might set aside the
533
taxes
8138,
because they don't
or
know.
visit us on the
That's
web
something to talk
at
about, too.
What are you talking
betterqualified.com.
about? I'm
Every
sorry.
loan has a story, a
The issue for
family, and a
seniors,
dream that
the
fuels it.
difficulty they
My
have
name is Jacqueline
is
Sendra,
it's even
mortgage loan
not-
originator number
even for
39117,
myself, I just like to take
specializing
home
in
my own
first-time
taxes.
homebuyer
I read
financing
my
and
tax
an
bill, my
array
head
of
spins.
mortgage products.
Most seniors
We
have had their
recognize the
taxes
importance of
paid
competitive
through.
rates and a custom-tailored
servicer.
mortgage loan to suit your
So
needs.
they actually need
United Northern
someone
Mortgage
to
Bankers
assist them with
Ltd.
reading
celebrates
the
over
tax bill, knowing
37
the
years
right
of
amount,
mortgage banking
and
success.
taking care of
Allow
people.
us to help you achieve your
Boring to
dream of
them. Yeah.
homeownership by
Yeah.
reaching out to me
Being
today at
responsible for
631-478-2706.
upkeeping.
Again,
So insurance, making sure that you don't lie
631-478-2706.
upkeeping.
United Northern
I wanna
Mortgage
ask
Lenders
you,
Ltd. NMLS
what
number
sort of
7230 is an
questions
equal
would
housing lender
you
and a
ask the
licensed
loan
mortgage
officer?
banker
Is there
located
any
at 3601 Hudson Drive, Suite 300, Levittown, New York, 11756,
Yes.
New York State
you can ask
Department of
them that
Financial
question. You want
Services.
to be closer to your mic.
retalkradio.com is your portal for cutting-edge information to give you an advantage in the competitive real estate market. Now, back to Real Estate Talk.
We are back. This is J. Philip Ferranda filling in for Victoria Rivadeneira. I'm here with Jackie Sendra and our guest, Don Giorgio, and our legal authority, Lior Aldad. We are all here talking about reverse mortgages. It is an under-discussed, fascinating kind of silo of housing. It is an enormous percentage of the population out there that is eligible for reverse mortgages. 62-year-olds make up almost a quarter of our housing population at this point. And Jackie, you had a question. about questions.
I do.
Yeah.
So as a loan originator, you know, people ask us questions all the time.
Sure.
So being that I'm not familiar with this reverse, the reverse platform, can you just, what would you encourage somebody to ask their loan originator if they're applying for a reverse mortgage? What would be some of the common questions that you think
Absolutely.
would be wise?
A senior has the right to ask questions, and they're always afraid, they're apprehensive, they don't want to insult anybody, but it's their life, and they've got to make sure they're dealing with the right team for them to go forward. First question a senior should always ask, forward or reverse, is do you have a loan officer license? Are you approved? Do you have a license? What's your license number? The second question they should ask that loan officer is, have you ever written a reverse mortgage? Because it's a specialty product. Do they know what they're doing? They know they're asked from their elbow kind of deal? Because, you know, there are different types of loan officers. They're not all as competent as Jackie.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So they might not be so competent. Have they done a reverse mortgage before? They have the right to know who they're dealing with and what their competency level is. So ask. And if they don't like what they hear, there's other people to work with and move on.
That's so true. So, you know, sort of, you know, a duh, but yes, are you licensed to do this? And people should know, this is, being licensed to write a loan is a relatively new development in the world of housing. Was it 10 years old?
Not even.
No, not even. No.
So it was a
7.
result of Dodd-Frank? if I'm not
2009,
mistaken?
2010,
So
somewhere
around the
there,
crash, the government decided that, you know, we might want to regulate this a little bit. Right?
Yeah, they decided if you work for a mortgage banker such as United Northern, the loan officers have to be licensed, and I'm proud of the criteria they go through. They have to take education, they have to do hours of courses, they have to pass tests. If they work for a federal bank, the federal bank is obligated to educate them, and if I could say that, they're not as good as we are. And a loan officer that's licensed through a mortgage banker is much more competent and capable of getting the loan done the right way. So yeah, they have to have a license.
Yeah, well, because we have our own license numbers and we're responsible, our name sticks to that mortgage until it is essentially paid off. So
No different from law, no different from real estate.
right.
Absolutely, absolutely. What about the counseling, the required counseling? Can you ask can the elder ask the counselor inquiries about the loan, and also, if I may, can the counselor advise against the loan?
Absolutely,
In other words, the counselor comes back and says, you know, with all due respect, you are such a fantastic person. I know you have good intentions, but I don't see you being able to stand up to the requirements of such a loan.
So for the process of counseling, the loan officer should give that senior a list and give them a choice of counselors. They have the right to choose. And along those choices, once they pick a counselor, they have to sit there. The counseling is about an hour to 2 hours where they'll be educated. The counselor will ask questions. If that counselor doesn't feel that the senior's grasping it, then the counselor won't give them their certificate, and therefore they can't get the loan. They have to make sure that the senior's competent, that they understand the transaction, and that there's no undue influence from a bank, a loan officer, or any outside parties.
Does the counselor come to the borrower's home, or does the borrower have to go to the counselor's location?
So every state is different. In New York, the counselor can counsel the client over the phone. In some other states, they require the senior to go to the counselor. The counselor has to be a HUD-approved counselor, licensed by FHA and HUD.
Now, what about the medical condition or the medical status of the borrower? How does that play into effect? When I mean medical,
yeah.
I mean physical, mental, and physical.
Sure.
And emotional.
So here's the good news. And we all know that seniors sometimes have issues. My own dad went through Alzheimer's. And we had to advocate for him. So if a senior is not totally competent, as long as we get the right letters from their doctor and the right power of attorney, the caregiver can get that loan done for the senior and still allow the senior to stay in their home, even though they don't know they're there. Right. They have the satisfaction of the seniors in their home.
I presume that would be a legal guardian, no?
Doesn't have to go that far. Just a power of attorney could be good enough, or it could be a true legal guardianship that's been established.
Mm-hmm.
But the power of attorney has to be there. We have to show that the senior, when they executed the power of attorney for the caregiver, was competent, and that's where the letter from the doctor is so very important. So if caregivers, and we haven't touched about that, because there are a lot of caregivers that have to advocate for seniors that they don't have the resources, the financial ability to pay for the seniors. They can't ante up the money. There's care that's needed. Maybe there has to be a nurse or an attendant. There's tons of equity in the house, so the caregiver can have the vehicle as well for the senior. The caregiver would then be counseled,
Right.
potentially. Yeah.
So there's a ton of moving parts to this.
Sure.
So the underwriting side of this
Right.
is relatively simple. It's more simple than a regular mortgage, but the
Don't
other
say that to my
consideration-
underwriters. They're going to disagree with you, and they might want to string you up on a cross. If you said that to them, you're in trouble.
I'm with you there, but from a layperson's point of view, when you think about
Yeah.
that, you know, for example, credit not being as important, you know, equity being the primary thing. But the other place where there are more moving parts, it seems, than a typical mortgage situation is all these other senior concerns with caregivers
Yeah.
and so forth. So
Right.
a lot of moving parts there.
Sure.
I wanted to touch on something you brought up about experience.
Right.
We want to work with somebody who has experience writing these loans. What should a person do if the person says, "This is my first reverse mortgage. I'm cutting my teeth with you"? I mean, should they run the other way?
They can slam the door
Yeah.
and say no thank you. They can even ask, can you get me another loan officer in your company that knows what they're doing? Listen, it's your equity. It's a big loan. It's the biggest debt a senior or a regular person's ever going to take on.
Typically, yeah.
You know, if you needed brain surgery, are you going for that surgeon that's just out of school, that just the ink's not even dry on their diploma?
You know, I refrained from prefacing my last question with experience. Reminds me of a colonoscopy story that I'm not going to tell,
Right?
but I'm glad you brought up brain surgery.
Can we get into it with that? Yeah.
They didn't give me the DVD. Apparently, it was all recorded on a DVD. So, are there any red flags that people should be aware of when they're exploring this sort of thing? I would imagine that many of the folks that are pondering a reverse mortgage are doing what everybody else does, which is they're kind of getting on the internet,
Yeah.
researching it, you know, reading blogs, reading bank websites, reading marketing, all this stuff.
Right.
What would be a red flag aside from a, hey, you're my first loan? What?
Right. You know, besides researching the loan officer, research the company they work for. Who are they working for? How long has that company been in business?
There
How
you go.
long has the company been writing reverse mortgages?
Okay.
And in addition, you know, for us as a company, United Northern Mortgage Bankers, we have our DE status, which means that we're delegated by the government. We did everything that we had to do to become an agent for the product and the program. Does the bank they're working for even have that status?
So you said DE status.
Yeah.
What does that stand for?
So we have delegated underwriting authority to approve a loan on behalf of the insurance program for the government,
Aha. Okay.
so that the senior has the product available to them.
All right. And I think, Jackie, you're looking for your DE status here right now, huh?
Jack, she's shuffling
Oh,
around.
oh, my-
I'm shuffling around here.
All my notes went away.
She's not doing soft shoe.
Did I? Oh, I took it away from you.
Well,
I
what
apologize
if the
for
bank
that.
is sold though? That's a good question. What if you're pondering, you already have a reverse mortgage and the bank gets sold?
It shouldn't change anything. The servicer is still going to be the servicer for that particular loan.
Right, but I think the question is, similar to commercial loans, does the bank hold the reverse mortgage or do they actually sell it similar to forward mortgages? So, reverse mortgages, are they kept in-house similar to commercial mortgages or are they traded?
It's a truly unique product. So there's only one or two services in the country that can actually handle this. So the actual mortgage itself might get traded, it might get sold, but the servicer is going to still pretty much be the same servicer.
Right, which does not affect your
Doesn't affect the senior at all. Yeah.
right, the terms and conditions of the loan.
Right. The
Similar-
biggest issue a senior has really is make sure you make your property tax and insurance payment.
I agree, and also any other upkeeping of your house.
The regular upkeeping has to be in place.
Correct.
You know, have regular maintenance, making sure that the outside's cared for, the inside is cared for, and then they get to stay in their home as long as they want, and they're happy, they're healthy, and their family is actually better off because grandma and grandpa are doing well.
Right, and I think forgetting to pay your real estate taxes hypothetically could be a big issue. Forgetting to renew your insurance could be a big issue.
Absolutely.
Jackie.
So I was shuffling around because, as you know, I was looking at notes. I understand that we at the bank actually have a website which is www.seniorsecurity.com.
Correct. Yeah.
And I'm just seeing here, I mean, it shares that we have some inspiring stories. We have a blog. There's reverse mortgage guides. There's a ton of resources. So I just
Right.
wanted to touch on that a bit, because I know anytime I'm looking to purchase something, I'm curious. I want to do my research. I want to go on the Better Business Bureau. I want
Right.
to ensure that the person I'm dealing with is in fact reputable.
All of your due diligence. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. So yeah, that's what I was looking for.
So, you go to Amazon, you look at the ratings on the product at the bottom of the page. You go to a restaurant, you look at it on Yelp. There is no Yelp for
Yep.
For banking.
for banking. So,
Yeah, there's the Better Business Bureau is there.
uh-huh.
You can call up any state banking department authority and ask, is there any issue with any particular company? You can do research on the internet
Mhm.
with regard to that bank that they might want to check into and see what does the public say? How does it look?
Very worth researching that sort of thing. I'd also hasten to let people know that this is a local thing. So if you are in New York, where we are, for
Sure.
example, the banking laws might be a little bit different than what they are in Colorado. And a bank that may be a household name in Boulder,
Right.
they may not have heard of around here, and so on and so forth. So be careful where you do your research. If something seems to run counter to your notion of how it should be, make sure that it's not something from Canada. Make sure that
Yeah.
it's not something. I've had people ask me questions, and where'd you get that? And they were on the Vancouver real estate blog. Well,
It's too good to be true.
yeah. So,
I agree with you that fraud on both sides,
Yeah.
from the banking institution soliciting the elder and people
Sure.
taking advantage of the elder contacting the bank. So fraud is something that
Yeah, one other place they can actually look, Phil, is there's the National Reverse Mortgage Lenders Association,
uh-huh.
and if a bank is reputable, they will belong to the National Reverse Mortgage Lenders Association. And the senior could even look there too.
The National Reverse Mortgage Lenders
Lenders
Association.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
All
can
right.
check that as well.
So that's a good resource for people to have, and this is a consortium. This is
Correct.
the association that the
Yeah.
reputable banks subscribe to, and
It's like the Good Housekeeping Bureau.
there you go. Okay,
Right.
so the Better Business Bureau, if you will, of
The
reverse mortgage lenders.
industry. Yeah.
Also good to know. Being a realtor, we're very proud of our NAR affiliation.
right.
The Bar Association.
Bar association is key in my industry.
You know,
Correct.
all very important. Another question for you, and this is again something I'm trying to project myself into. My mother-in-law. These sorts of questions. What happens as the property taxes rise? What does the monthly payment go down because it's getting defrayed out of that? Can they borrow more as the house appreciates to kind of deflect that?
This is set aside. If the senior was not exhibiting enough care for their credit, and we had to set aside money for the property taxes and the insurance, it's all built in there.
Mhm.
If they're responsible for themselves and on their own, then they've got to just be mindful of it. And I encourage them to always talk to another person. I see my own tax bill, and my head spins.
Okay.
It's not user-friendly. And again, going back to politics and local governments, you can't make it more unuser-friendly for a senior to even read their own tax bill. So they may need to not be afraid to ask other people for assistance and help in reaching out. Now, that being said, the best resource for that is if they did a reverse mortgage, their loan officer, if they're worth their salt, would be there in their life forever. It's a relationship. And the loan officer should be available to a senior for further lifestyle questions and assist them with interpreting their tax bills and making their payments.
But there is, I agree with you 100%. But there is no escrow, mortgage escrow, such as in a forward loan,
No.
where you right. So
Yeah.
in a forward loan, for example, some banks, if they choose, can take 1/12 of your annual real estate taxes or 1/12 of your annual insurance, and then on your behalf escrow the funds, and then when time comes, quarterly pay it, or annually in terms of when it comes to your insurance. So in such a case, there's no such.
The similar part to that is if they had a lifetime set aside, which is called a LISA, and that meant that the senior didn't exhibit the best ability to pay their credit, but we still want to give them the opportunity for that loan to help them with ownership.
Right.
So the loan would set aside the property taxes for the life of the loan, life expectancy set aside.
So there is an option.
Yeah, there's an option there, and it's built in. If the taxes escalate and it goes up, it's still built into the mortgage.
Good to know.
Absolutely.
Because, somebody's given this more thought. And these are the sorts of questions that
Sure.
I know that people need to have answered. I mean, I
Yeah.
know I've heard about the 30-year thing. Taxes, let's face it, anybody on a fixed income becomes extremely preoccupied with these sorts of concerns. And
Yeah.
what's going to happen to me, and am I going to be okay, are questions that are asked all the time about these
Sure.
sorts of things. And we want to let people know, especially if you
Yeah.
have equity in your home, you're going to be okay.
They're going to be better than okay. We have people that have come to closing that were in dire straits. They couldn't eat, they couldn't take care of their bills, and their life turned around completely. And they had the equity locked up in their home, and they didn't realize it, and they didn't understand the product was available for them. So we've watched people cry at a closing table and said, "Is this real? Is this check really mine?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really yours.
It's so
Bill-
good. It's so nice to hear. And we hear the term all the time is house rich, cash poor.
Yeah.
And when people have worked hard their entire lives and paid their
They
bills
paid their
and
dues.
done everything that they're supposed to do, they ought to be able to reap the benefit of
Right.
that hard work, right?
We have to get the word out for these people. They paid their dues in society. They contributed. They made things happen. We've got to get it out to them.
Don, how do we reach you?
You can go to www.seniorsecurity.com,
Okay.
and you'll hear all the information about the product right there for the senior.
Okay. And Lior, how do we reach you?
www.aldadlaw, ALDADLAW.com, and call me at 212-268-6999.
Your turn, Jackie.
Yeah, you can reach me at 631-478-2706, www.United Northern Mortgage Bankers, Jacqueline Sendra.
This is Phil Ferranda for J. Phillip Real Estate. You can reach me at jphillip.com. And this has been Real Estate Talk. Join us anytime you want on retalkradio.com. That's a wrap this week. We thank our guests,
Yes.
and we hope everybody
Thank
has
you.
a great week. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes.
Is it me or did that fly by?
Great job,
Yeah.
guys.
It went by
We
real
should
fast.
probably unlive it now.
I got it.
No,
There's not
no one
yet
can
more?
do all the expletives yet until we
Thanks,
turn
everyone.
off the live.